Welcome to the Stop Dieting podcast, hosted by best-selling, award-winning author and renowned weight loss expert, David Medansky. If you struggle to lose weight or you've lost weight and gained it back, you'll want to listen each week. Each week, you will learn tips for healthy weight loss without going on a diet, without having to follow an exercise program, without counting calories, or having to purchase special meals or products. The Stop Dieting podcast is more than just about healthy and sustainable weight loss. You will also learn how you can have more energy, feel better, get rid of brain fog, and improve your overall health. Stay tuned for another informative and insightful episode. And if you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe and share this with your friends.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Stop Dieting. I'm your host, David Medansky, and today we have a very special guest. It's Dr. Gillian Lockitch. Did I pronounce it correctly?
You absolutely did.
Awesome. Dr. Gillian Lockitch is an international speaker. She's the author of Growing Older, Living Younger, The Science of Aging Gracefully, and the Art of Retiring Comfortably, and the host of the Growing Older, Living Younger podcast until she retired from her 25-year career as a dual certified specialist in pediatrics and medical biochemistry and professor at the University of British Columbia. Her professional career is deeply rooted in science. During rehabilitation from life-saving emergency spinal surgery, she researched ways to combine medical and epigenetic science with other healing traditions to change aging at the cellular level. Following her personal 7-pillar roadmap for aging youthfully, she founded the Growing Older, Living Younger project to help others keep well, active, and vibrant as they age. At 70, she became a first-time entrepreneur, building a global online business in wellness, beauty, and anti-aging to complement lifestyle changes that can reset your aging blueprint so that you can live younger, longer. Welcome, Dr. Lockitch, and you like to be referred to as Gill, correct?
Yes, and thank you for having me on your show, David.
So how did you get from being a medical doctor into an anti-aging specialist?
Well, the first thing that happened was I ended up taking slightly early retirement from my job, which at that time was head of the Department of Pathology and Lab Medicine at the Children's and Women's Hospital. And I took early retirement for a number of reasons. And one of which was that I really had spent 25 years in medicine, and I really wanted to explore whether there were other ways that we could work on our health and healthy aging without the use of therapeutic drugs, etc. And there were other reasons I wanted to focus on my writing. I've always sort of bounced back and forth between wanting to practice medicine and wanting to be a journalist. And when I retired, I basically focused on my first website, which consisted of 4 blogs. It was called reviewfromthehouse.com. And I wrote about ballroom dancing, I wrote about food and wine. It started actually as an online theater review site, which got me onto media lists from all over North America. And so I basically spent about 7 years not having anything to do with medicine or thinking about medicine until I had a catastrophic personal medical incident where I had spinal stenosis that caused sciatica, which basically turned me into a couch potato ridden with back pain. I put on weight, I became depressed, and it basically changed my whole personality from the person that I'd been before. And then that culminated in emergency spinal surgery. And as I was recovering from that and trying to rehabilitate myself and get back on the dance floor, I realized that I had to change everything about my health and how I was aging. And that's when I really began to explore the power of epigenetics and the lifestyle changes that we could make that would change our aging trajectory. So that
That's
basically is how I got from sort of, medicine and medical thinking into looking at what we can do for ourselves to change the way we live and the way we age.
yeah, and anybody who has gone through sciatica, I have experienced it myself in the past, knows how horrible and miserable it is to be incapacitated with it. You're basically immobile for part of it. So that's very debilitating, and I'm sure the audience can relate to that.
Yeah, well, the frequency, or should I say, the prevalence of back pain is in most populations is really, really high. I mean, we weren't originally designed to sort of walk on 2 feet. That's not how we evolved, and somehow we managed to mess up our backs, I think, through a lifetime of poor posture and other things like that. And then, of course, as we age and we get osteoporosis, the likelihood of the sort of canals in our vertebra narrowing and compressing the nerves is increased. And so many people that I speak to have sciatica or spinal stenosis, and at least 3 of my friends in the last year have had the same kind of back surgery that I had. Maybe I was really fortunate with the results that I had. Theirs have not been quite as smooth.
Interesting. You also use the word retirement, and I like to think of it as you're having a new chapter in your life.
Mhm.
In Japan, especially Okinawa, one of the blue zones where people live to be, hundreds, 100 years or older and healthy. They don't even have a word for retirement. They use the word ikigai, Ikigai. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but there's a book written about it, and that means life purpose. And so that's what they believe in, is finding a life purpose. So it sounds like you found a new life purpose in your 7 pillars of growing younger.
Well, I sort of look at it as I use the word redeploy, because my talents from medicine were redeployed in 2 different ways. The first was the period where I was just focusing on my writing and my journalism and reaching people in that way. And then the second was when I realized that I needed to share what I'd learned about growing older, living younger, and also having discovered this particular health, wellness, and anti-aging company that had everything that sort of aligned with my mission, sharing that. So I've kind of had 2 redeployments since I took retirement.
And what is the company that you refer to?
Yeah, it's called New Skin, and it's a company it was founded in the 1980s with the objective of creating initially just skincare that had all of the good and none of the bad ingredients. And since then, it's evolved into a global, I think 52 country company with not only skincare products, but also a range of nutritional and epigenetic supplements that, from my medical perspective of evaluating the products compared to anything else, I just basically that's what I take to keep me youthful and well.
Yeah, New Skin owns Pharmanex, which is the um, subsidy for the nutritional supplements, correct?
Yeah, yes.
And they also have the patent and a scanner that can measure the carotenoids of a person that's non-invasive and takes about a minute to determine if you're getting enough of your antioxidants and enough of your uh, vegetables. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, actually, that was one of the things that sort of attracted me to this, because with my background, in laboratory, as a laboratory director, I was really skeptical initially when I was told about the scanner, but I've been using it since then, and the results are precise and repeatable, and it's a very, very valuable tool for people to understand what their level of antioxidant protection is and how they can sort of advance and what they can do to improve it. And because the particular antioxidants that we're measuring with the scanner are essentially fat soluble, it kind of gives you an overall perspective as to how well people are able to absorb their other fat soluble vitamins, etc., from their diet. So my way of, when people sort of come to talk to me about anti-aging, I like to do an initial scan for them. It's 30 seconds, it's free, and it gives them a really good range from 0 to 100,000 units of where they stand, and they can see what they need to do to improve it. So yeah, it's one of my favorite tools for helping people assess their overall health.
And when you do this,
Do you use it?
I do. And I was going to ask you about the scanner. I do use the Pharmanex products. My wife and I take Life Pack Nano. And so, yes, and it was interesting because when we first, were getting scanned, we were in the 30,000 range. And then we built up to over the 70,000 range. I think, to the best of my recollection, only about 5% are in the 80,000 range or above.
Right. So I look at it in the colors, because it starts off in the red, where you're sort of very low, and moves all the way through the color spectrum to sort of the blue gray at the top. And I personally am consistently in the blue gray, like 95,000, 100,000, because I take a variety of those products. And so not only do I take Life Pack Nano, which to me is the absolute best and I guess most complete vitamin, mineral, trace element, phytonutrient supplement that is available. But I also take the eye formula, which is another scan certifiable product. I initially used to use the GAC fruit, the G3 juice. I don't take that anymore, but between the Nano, the eye formula, and then of course what we call in Canada Y-span, you call it Youth, which is the epigenetic supplement that resets something like 1,200 genes in our bodies to make them work like they did when we were younger. So all of these contribute to a good carotenoid score. And so that's why I'm, as I said, consistently like in the blue-gray right at the top.
That's fantastic. I also use the eye formula, and I need to get new prescription glasses because my eyesight's improving. So my
Yeah.
eye doctors always ask me, "What are you doing?" And so I tell them I'm taking these supplements. The other thing is, to the best of my recollection, about 80% are in the red zone, which means that they're not getting enough antioxidants or carotenoids in their diet, which leads to inflammation, which leads to aging. And another maybe 15%, 10% are in the yellow area, which is mid-range. So you get some, but not enough to, make it effective. What is one way for the audience to get in touch with you if they're interested in learning more about how they can get into the PharmaNex products and talk to you about the anti-aging?
Right. Well, the simplest way is for them to book a 20-minute consultation with me initially. And, I can give you my Calendly link to put into the show notes. The other way is they can simply email me, and my email is askdrgill@gmail.com. So it's like askdrgill@gmail.com. And somebody else apparently has the email Ask Dr. Gill with GI1L. So be really careful to make sure you put 2 L's in that email.
Okay, so
It's probably the easiest. Yeah.
Okay, great. Ask Dr. Gill, and Gill spelled Gill.
Yes.
At gmail.com.
gmail.com.
Perfect. I just want to make sure that the audience is clear on how they can reach out to you, because I believe it's very important for people to get the right nutrition and to get the right supplements, because unfortunately in the industry, it's not regulated, and there's a lot of supplements that people are just wasting their money. However, I'm with you, and I can personally vouch for the integrity and the quality of the PharmaNex products. I was fortunate to go and visit the plant, and they were telling us that they had to reject one of the components, one of the ingredients, because within 0.5 milligrams, it was not within what they would tolerate for being the purity of it. So they rejected, and that goes into other products made by other manufacturers. So you can know that these are the highest quality available, and they're very honest and have a high integrity about producing these products.
It's really interesting. I mean, I as you do, I'm sure, I talk to lots and lots of people, and just about everybody that I talk to is taking some form of supplement, whether it's, a CoQ10 or vitamin D or vitamin C. Most of them do it on a very sort of sporadic basis. So their doctor or their naturopath has said, you need to take this, that, and the other. My approach to supplements with micronutrients is that, because our body, as as a medical biochemist, I know that our body is constantly, all the time, undergoing metabolic reactions. So there's hundreds of enzymes, and each of them needs the right micronutrient to make them active. So my approach is that you need a sort of umbrella or an orchestra of all the essential vitamins, minerals, trace elements, and then the phytonutrients and antioxidants. And taking that sort of gives you your baseline to get everything that we're not getting from our food supply these days. And then if there are things that you need to patch up, so for example, I patch up with extra CoQ10 because at our age, our natural CoQ10 levels are drop, and we need more of that. So that type of a thing. So I like orchestra and then solo players rather than just a patchwork of a solo player that don't necessarily work together.
I agree with you. That's very fascinating. The biggest component, in my opinion, is that people should drink lots of pure water. And the reason I say that is, in the US, 75% of the US population is chronically dehydrated because our bodies are 60 to 7% water and not soda or diet soda or fruit juice or milk. And yet more soda and diet soda is sold than any other beverage here. Yeah. And there's a direct correlation with people being overweight, because 72% of the US adult population is overweight, of which 42% are clinically obese. So I think it's very important that people, get the right information about the right products.
It's interesting. I've never liked fizzy things, so I've never drunk any of those sodas. I just drink plain water. But that sort of translates into, I don't even like champagne. I love wine. I'm not drinking alcohol at the moment because it just doesn't sort of fit with my lifestyle, and it kind of keeps me awake. But even when I was enjoying a glass of wine or two, I never liked champagne. Just didn't like the fizzy thing.
Yeah.
Didn't sort of work for me. There's one other interesting thing that I think people should really be aware about. And I think that I can't even remember which year it was, but there were some interesting studies done in New York where they looked at a variety of herbal medicines and over-the-counter kind of things to see, and they were actually using DNA analysis to see if what was in there was really, what was supposed to be in there was really in there. And interestingly enough, they found that in a number of these supplements, there were ingredients that were not supposed to be there, and toxins that were not supposed to be there, and that many of the ingredients were not actually present when they analyzed it by using DNA. So it's just a buyer beware. And over the internet, it's so easy to get anything, right, these days. And you really have to be cautious as to what you invest your health and your money in. So
Exactly. I'm familiar with that study, and I believe they came up with 90% of the over-the-counter supplements, like you said, either did not contain the ingredient they were supposed to, had other ingredients they weren't supposed to, and did not even have the correct dosage of what they claimed was in there. So you're right. It's buyer beware of what you're investing your money and your health in. A lot of the marketing gimmicks they use, and unfortunately they use it in the weight loss and diet industries as well as the food industries to get people to purchase their products, even though it may not be beneficial to your health and well-being. What are some of the 7 pillars that can you get into that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So I basically looked at what we needed to consider if we wanted to construct our own roadmap to age well. And the first is you need information. So pillar number 1 deals with genetics, because ultimately the goal of the Growing Older, Living Younger mission is to show people that they don't need to age in the same way as their parents and grandparents did. So pillar number 1 is all to do with genetics and epigenetics. Understanding what your biological blueprint is that you inherit from your parents. Pillar number 2 is relating to mindset. I call it mindset, mindfulness, and mind keep. Mindset is, I believe that anything that you want to achieve in life, you have to have the appropriate belief and mindset. Mind keep is something really, I guess, unique to me. And I've always thought of the brain as something that you have to exercise like you exercise your muscles. So in that pillar, I explore ways that you can maintain your cognitive abilities and perhaps ward off dementia through physical exercise. And the one, I really love this, but the one physical exercise that has been shown to have a positive effect on preserving your cognitive abilities is ballroom dancing, partner dancing, and we can sort of talk about why that is. And then things like online brain training. And I have explored a number of these online computer-based brain training things that work on your computing speed, your attention, your focus. And the ones I love are working on both vocabulary and then math. I don't do very well on the math thing, so I'm doing a lot of exercises on that. So that's pillar number 2. Pillar number 3 deals with all aspects of your physical body, because different parts of our body age differently, and differently at different times for different people. And so I explore things like, for example, sitting is not good. There's a lot of information that has led to the concept that sitting is like the new smoking. So posture, physical activity, how you can prevent or delay aging problems with your eyes, etc. Pillar number, what am I up to? Number 4 is all about nutrition, because truly you are what you eat. And so I explore different options that people might select that will fit in. I don't call it diet. I create a nutritional lifestyle. So my personal choice is I couple intermittent fasting with a keto nutritional plan. I swapped from, the standard advice way back of, low fat and all of that kind of thing, to initially just a low carb diet. And that changed my health amazingly. And I was able to lose a large part of the 40 pounds that I'd gained during that episode of sciatica. But it was really only when I changed completely to a ketogenic nutritional lifestyle that I, dropped all the weight and felt the sort of the old me. And I shouldn't use the word old, the previous me.
The prior version. I'm curious, you're talking about intermittent fasting. When you talk about intermittent fasting, a lot of people, it's kind of a fad right now. A lot of people roll their eyes thinking starvation. Can you talk a little bit about what you mean by the intermittent fasting?
Yeah, sometimes I use the word time-restricted eating, but again, I don't want to introduce the concept of restriction. So basically, I mean, we all actually fast when we're sleeping. The way I look at it is, it's a fasting or feasting. We're in one of 2 states. When we're feasting, we're ingesting food, and we want to be sure that it's not food that raises our insulin levels and helps us store fat. We don't want that. During fasting, we're going into a sort of a different situation where we're burning ketones for energy, and we're not sort of triggering the glucose insulin axis, if you want to. So if you think about it, most of us are in a fasting state for at least 7 or 8 hours while we're sleeping. So for me, I try to not eat. So I have supper around about 6:30 or 7, depending. And I'm not hungry. I never snack before bedtime. And I basically the next morning will have my coffee with cream, which does not break the fast. And then I eat when I'm hungry, and it usually is anything from 16 hours to sometimes 20 hours would be my so-called fasting thing. So if people don't think about it as actively making a decision, I'm going to fast, but really just listen to their bodies, they'll find that they can, and depending on what their diet is, like if you're eating a high carb diet, and you know it's really much harder to last in a fasting mode. So so I sort of combine the 2 when I'm talking to people about nutrition. A low carb intake, make sure that your carbs are healthy carbs, So I basically get mine from a couple of vegetables and lots of salad, that sort of thing.
Oh, that's great.
And yeah, so
Yeah.
that's that pillar.
Okay, because like talk about the intermittent fasting just a little bit longer, because
Okay.
different experts have different opinions. Some say it should be 12 hours, some say 14, some 16, some 18. So I usually tell people it's what's best for their own bodies. And I agree with you. If you stop eating 3 hours before you go to sleep and you sleep for 7 or 8 hours, well, that's 10 to 11 hours right there. And if you wait an hour or two um, to have your first meal, which is to break the fast, which is breakfast, you got your 12, 13, 14 hours in there. And that's what I do also. I get up, first thing I do is I have a 20-ounce glass of water, and then I have my cup of black coffee, and I'm not hungry. And my first meal is anywhere between 10:30 and 11 o'clock in the morning. So I agree with you on that. And I think that's excellent advice that you're giving.
Yeah, sorry, I just want to pick up on a very important thing that you said. And I think it's, if you tell somebody they should, or it's a prescription, you should fast for 12 hours, or that's completely the opposite, right? And then it becomes like a diet. It's the same. Whereas I like the idea of people just thinking about it as a lifestyle, not a diet. And one of the things that I think is really important, it relates to enough sleep, as well as to the concept of not being in a feasting state while you're sleeping, is the fact that our brain undergoes a sort of cellular detoxification process while we're sleeping. And you don't want to be in a high carb state when you go to sleep.
Oh, absolutely. So now we're on pillar number 6.
Yeah, and again, that really relates to connection and communication. And I think it's been clearly shown, for example, in those blue zone communities that you're talking about, that one of the most important thing is to understand. I call it, you are not alone. You should not be alone. You need to feel part of a bigger something, whether it's a religious community, whether it's people who like to get together and read books or knit or hike. So it's the importance of maintaining connection with the world, and all aspects of that. So I think we're now on to that was number 5. Number 6.
Number 7.
I think I conflated
Okay.
something.
Number 6 then. All right.
Yeah. So for me, number 6, I call it choose the challenge, and that is the importance of challenging oneself, whether it's a physical challenge of becoming fitter, whether it's a mental challenge, whether it's a business challenge, like my challenge was to develop an entrepreneurial business, so start that at the age of 70. Then my next challenge was to start the podcast, at the age of 76. So challenging oneself. And then the last one is to do with ageism, and I sort of call it presence, and that's understanding what you can do to present to the world a youthful, vibrant, energetic persona, as opposed to, I'm 80 years old and I'm old and tired kind of thing, and I've sort of encountered a lot of, in a way, a little bit of pushback from a number of my wonderful friends and colleagues who are working in the ageism category, about, why should you try and keep your hair looking youthful and your skin and all of that. And so my answer to that is that really, we can't counteract people's inner reactions, and so you can't say to somebody, don't look at me and be ageist, right? So what we need to do is to model or show that at our age, we are still vibrant, healthy, active, and that happens through a first impression. And that's why, I did a wonderful podcast interview with Dr. Helen Naggs, who is in charge of the sort of skincare research. And we called it Your Skin, a Window to Your Health. And it does. I mean, your skin is what the world sees, and it reflects your mental and physical bodily health. So that gets you to all 7 of the pillars.
That's great. And where can people get your book at?
The easiest, if they're in North America, Canada and the USA, they can go to it's GillianLockitch.com, and that is how they can obtain a copy of the actual paperback. I don't know if I can show you this.
Sure.
Yeah, it's probably not
coming up on this.
Yeah. So that's where they can get the softcover edition of my book, and then I mail it out to them. If they're not in North America, it's also available as a Kindle version on Amazon. And I think it's important, the book that I started out to write is not the book that I ended up writing, because my initial thing was, I had like 300 pages of anti-aging science, which nobody would ever read. And the book that I ended up writing is really, it's a memoir journey with science thrown in. So it's essentially the story behind each of those 7 pillars. And the feedback that I've had from people is, actually, the other night I was out for at a dinner with a bunch of friends, and one of these women who had read the book said to me, it changed my life because it changed the way I thought about my weight. And she'd been, battling to lose weight. She wasn't able to actively exercise a lot because she had a knee problem and was waiting for surgery. But when she read about my original yo-yo dieting and how I evolved my nutritional lifestyle and then lost all the weight, she decided to implement that, and she's lost 40 pounds and is now in a much better condition waiting for her knee surgery than she would have been. And she was kind enough to sort of thank me publicly in front of my group of friends for that. And I was honored by the fact that reading my book had helped make a significant change in her life.
That's awesome. And again, people can reach out to you at Gillian, spelled Gillian, Lockitch, LOCKITCH.com.
Yeah, and that will take them to a page where they can order the book, which I will then mail out to them with much joy and a signature.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Jill, for being a guest today on the Stop Dieting podcast. I appreciate your time. And again, people can reach out to you at GillianLockitch.com. They can also reach out to you at AskDrJill@gmail.com, and we'll put that in the show notes as well.
Yeah, just so the GillianLockitch.com is exclusively if they want to order the book. To actually, contact me and get an answer back by email, they need to do the AskDrJill@gmail.
Excellent. Perfect. Again, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. It's, I've enjoyed talking to you ever since I first met you. So it's been a privilege to be on your show.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks for listening to the Stop Dieting podcast. Remember to like and subscribe so you won't miss a single episode to get more healthy eating and lifestyle tips. Motivate and inspire others to be healthy by sharing with your friends.